I used to work for Sears Roebuck after school. I get out of school, go over to Sears Roebuck, and I worked in the household section. You got to be real good at it. And then they lost the manager, and I was in line to be the manager, but I was young. And I was really surprised when all of a sudden they made another guy manager who was a boy just a little younger than I was. And he happened to be the brother of the personnel manager, but he knew nothing about household goods or cleaning supplies and that sort of thing. I knew everything. I knew all the products. I really knew them well. And I went and I said, look, I worked hard to be the manager in this department, or assistant or something. And all of a sudden your brother is appointed when he knows nothing. He says, well, we want you to teach him. I said, I know your brother. He's unteachable. I mean, I can't teach him anything. He doesn't respect me enough to do that. And so I can't work with him. He says, well, you've got to. That's what we decided to do. And I said, then I quit. He said, well, we don't like to lose a good man like you in theater, but if you quit, you quit. And I said, well, I'm not going to work with him. When I've deserved that position, I've worked hard to get it, and you're going to give it to him. I'm not going to teach him anything. She says, well, how about working in the shipping department? And the shipping department, I had been called upon to help them from time to time, and they liked me down there because I was strong. Even though I was scrawny, I was really strong. It would be nothing for me to go in and pick up an entire couch and walk out with it on my back. The people in the furniture department just said, we need 3 people to carry that couch. Why? I get in under it and lift it up, and out I go. And so they thought I might do well at the shipping department. And the guy in charge of shipping was very happy to have me. His name was Shorty. But Shorty was very strong, and the men just respected him a lot. But he was glad to have me because I could type and he couldn't. And so I typed all the bills of lading and all that kind of stuff. So we worked well together, Shorty and I, and all the workers under him. And then Shorty had an emergency appendectomy where he's suddenly gone to the hospital. And I am the acting manager of the shipping department, which was okay with me. I knew what everybody was supposed to do. So I came in the morning after he was gone, and I said, men, Shorty won't be here. I'm the acting manager, and here are the duties for the day. I've got everything listed out. And they said, we're not going to do what you say. I said, you're what? We're not going to do what you say. Well, I'm the manager here. You don't understand. And they said, you don't understand. We're not going to do what you say. And I said, I put down here what each man's duties are. I'm not changing it. That's the duties for the day. So one of them said to another, should we teach him a lesson? And they decided, yeah, they need to teach me a lesson. What they were going to do was show me that a 19-year-old kid could not boss around a bunch of tough, strong men who have their own desires about what they do and say, who they are. And so they decided they were going to teach me a lesson by beating me up. And all I could say was, come on. If you want a piece of me, come on. And they did. And they started a brawl. That, the best I can describe, it was like a barroom brawl in a John Wayne movie, where everybody uses everything he can pick up to throw at somebody or hurt somebody. And that's what they did, and I did, to fight them back. I mean, there were chairs that were broken, boards, whatever. I seemed like a table got crushed. But anyway, anything in the area was okay to throw, hit, whatever. And so we really fought it out. And I had everybody lying on the ground moaning and groaning except 2. And somehow they had managed to maneuver me into a big truck. back of a big moving van sort of thing. It was a trailer truck. Anyway, I was in there by myself, and here came two guys. They're coming after me and said, "We've got him now." Well, I remembered, I think it was in the comic books, maybe it was a movie, but I think it was a comic book, where I think Batman got two guys and crushed their heads by bringing them together. And so these two guys came in, they were so happy to find me all alone in that, and I'm standing there waiting for two guys, big guys, coming after me. But just as they got there, I reached up, got their two heads and crushed them together. I was strong. Next thing I knew, they're lying out on the floor. They were out. But why nobody was seriously hurt, I really can't tell you, because they were hurting. So I then pronounced I had won. I walked out there and I said, "All right, you guys, get up off the floor and help me move these two guys out of here." They did. Groggily dragged the other guys out. And now I went back to the list. I said, "Okay, now here are the rules for the day. Here's everybody's assignment." You don't have to throw things.
No, we're not going to have lemonade.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like there. Anyway, I had made their assignments, and from that time forth, they gave me no lip whatsoever. Everybody meekly did what he was supposed to do. They weren't about to take me on one at a time after the whole bunch of them failed. And so they did their jobs, and we worked that way the rest of the week until Shorty came back. I never mentioned it to Shorty. Nobody else mentioned it. And they just went ahead and did their jobs. And it wasn't long after that I decided to go ahead and join the Air Force. So I didn't have long to work in the shipping department after that. I just signed up. I decided it would be a pretty good deal. I'd go ahead and get my time in with the military and then come back and work for Sears Roebuck or something like that. I had a girlfriend, which was not your grandmother, but I had a girlfriend. She was pretty serious, and we thought this would be a good way, get your time in the military, come back, then we'll get married. But what I found out is, as soon as I was gone from the scene, she found another guy, a sailor. And so I would come back on leave, she'd come back to me. I would leave, she'd go back to him. And it was a matter of, I couldn't trust her. She loved me when I was there, but loved him when I was gone. And I didn't like that too well. And it was eventually, when I met your grandmother, I knew she was the one. But I wanted to go back to Washington, D.C. and check things out, because I had several girlfriends back there, and I wanted to see how are they. When I met the one that I think I really love. And so it was Christmas vacation, and I went back to Washington and went back around to all of my old girlfriends. And I found this, they were wonderful girls, really. I had picked well, but none of them was for me. None of them had what she had. First of all, she had the Lord, and secondly, she was just lovable. Each of the others, like the one I couldn't trust as soon as I was gone, she was out with somebody else. And the other one was a Southern girl who had the way about her. Southern girls sort of trick their men into doing things for them. I don't know if you understand this or not, but that's the way she was. We'd set a time for a date, and I'd show up at the house, and we're sitting there waiting. Where's my date? Well, she's upstairs getting ready and doing something. And while you're here, would you mind fixing something for me? It's her mother and her aunt were sitting there waiting for me to fix it. One time I showed up, I'm all dressed for a date. We're going out somewhere. She says, would you mind putting some tar on the roof? I mean, you don't dress up to put tar on a roof. I went up and did it, but I put something on over what I was wearing and so forth. And I realized I'm being set up. They're getting men's work done around the house that they need done all through me, and I'm not making arrangements to do this. I'm not getting any pay for it. And I just figured I was being imposed upon. So that was not the girl for me. I want a girl that speaks up. If you want something done, say you want it done. Don't try to finagle me into something. And I think both those girls married well eventually. And I know that the last one, the southern girl, she got her naval officer, and I think the other girl, I think she got a sailor who wasn't an officer, so I don't know.
You want to give your disclaimer about the loading dock story?
Oh, the disclaimer, yes. I do not do that anymore. And I look back and I believe that it was simply God protecting me. As a 19-year-old kid, what did I know about defending myself against about 6 or 7, at least 6, grown men who know toughness and no fighting, and I beat them all up? I look back and I say, thank you, Lord, for saving my life. And that's not the only time. I got a number of fights that God really protected me. And that's my disclaimer. I didn't do it. I did it, but I did it with God's help. And I really believe it. All my life, God protected me from things like that that could have had serious consequences. And it was that, and then of course the whole thing about the gang. I joined a gang, and I came home and told my folks I joined a gang. My mother said that when, in that case, go unjoin it. I said, you can't unjoin a gang. If you join it, you join it. She said, you're not going to be in the gang. I don't know how you can get out of it. I think they'll all figure they need to come after him. And she said, then I guess they'll come after you. Okay. So I went over. I went to where they were meeting at the next meeting time, and I said, I'm getting out of the gang. And they said, you don't get out of a gang. You join. You're in for life. And I said, no, I'm out. And they said, we will get you. None of them had an idea that they could take me by themselves, but they thought, together we can do this. And I said, if you want me, come get a piece of me. I had a lot of bravado in those days. I really felt like I'd been able to lick anybody that came after me, and I didn't fear anybody. So that was that story. And then at school the next day, I saw a bunch of them together, and I sort of went over to where they were behind a wall where I could hear them. And they had planned to go down. When I went to lunch, I went down through the basement and out through the furnace room to go to a place where I ate lunch. I went over there and played pinball and drank Cokes and ate my sack lunch. And I walked by the dining hall there at the high school to get there. And they decided to go down there early and get me when I came back after lunch and take my pants off and beat me up and then run away and leave me there in the basement of the high school. So I thought, okay, I understand what they want to do. So I went there early, and I didn't just turn the light out where it could be turned on again. I unscrewed the bulb so that it was really dark down there in the area around the furnace. And then I went to lunch and came back early and sneaked in behind the furnace when it was all dark. And here the guys came on time, and they're all kind of in there and wondering what happened to the light. And they said, that's all right, we can see him better, so forth. So they're all in there, and I just sort of looking around, I figured out who's the leader of the bunch. The guy's sort of the head of the gang. and I went over behind him, and I pushed him out suddenly in front. I said, "There he is, get him." And they all pounced on him, beat him up, and took his pants off, and then ran. Well, I sort of sneaked out too, and I didn't see him around all day long, the rest of the day. That afternoon, he showed up in one of the classes and says, "I'm going to get you for this." He was so mad. I said, "That's what you said last time, buddy." And I said, "Oh, we're going to get you this time." I said, "If you think you're big enough, come on." Well, they never were able to do it. But at the end of the week, they all got picked up for stealing a car and got sent off to reform school. And I wasn't part of the gang. And yes, my mother and dad talked me out of it, but I think it was God. I really believe God saved me from a lot of embarrassing and hurtful stuff over the years. And I want to thank God for delivering me and then teaching me how not to get involved in that kind of stuff, which he eventually did. Praise God.